Okay, before I get into this review for the new SpongeBob movie, very quickly, I want to talk about All Flora and Useless from Disney. I think it was a good movie. It did have some very funny jokes, but the story was very weak in my opinion because it's a typical hiding a pet iron giant story. But the characters were likable. The comedy gets a lot of does get some good laughs. And the animation on the squirrel is very impressive. But it's one of those films I probably would not see again. But it was a definite decent movie. But on but if you have the time, go ahead and check that one out. So with that said, yep, I took a look at the newest SpongeBob movie, the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, basically the SpongeBob SquarePants movie 3. And before I talk about this, let me just talk about my personal thoughts on SpongeBob in general. Well, yes, I love SpongeBob, and you already know I did talk about when I think I've already talked about the game. I mean, I have the Xbox One version and the Switch and the Nintendo Switch copy. Well, the Switch copy is my brother's, but I meant to give it back to him. But I'm trying to beat that one as well on the Switch. Um, and a little bit of a quick runners up. I love the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob. They are awesome seasons. So my very quick opinions on the other SpongeBob movies. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie, I really love. I definitely think this is the best of the SpongeBob movies. But sadly, I didn't see that one in theaters. The only SpongeBob movie I saw in theaters was the sequel, the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water. Sorry if everything's all backwards, but the second SpongeBob movie not as good as the first one, but I liked it. But I definitely like it a lot. Actually, I thought it was kind of a great sequel, like a worthy successor to its predecessor. But the first one was pretty much better, in my opinion. So after numerous delays from this film, much like the Mulan remake, like it, well, this one did kind of get released in theaters as well. Well, the Mulan remake was released in theaters too. Oh, but it didn't make that much money. This one is also the same. And on now, what do I think of this new SpongeBob movie? I don't like this one. In fact, I thought this kind of sucked. Yep, I don't mean to be a dick about. It's time for me to be a bit of a dick with this movie. I didn't like it. I was kind of looking forward to it too, a little bit, because the animation looked really good, and stuff, and it looked harmless enough. Technically, it is harmless enough, but it just fell flat. But with some good things in it, though. The reason why I didn't like this movie is because I didn't hate it. I just don't like it. Like, so I'll talk about a real general thought as to what it really truly is. But the story, um, there's a king. Well, no, actually, let me talk about the king in a minute. Well, first SpongeBob, we already know, was in love with his pet snail Gary. And then one day, Sandy, brings in, or brings in a robot called Otto, which would have been like an auto owner for the Krusty Krab, or something that Mr. Krabs just throws it away. But that while that's going on, Plankton sees the robot and then thinks he could help, uses it to help Plankton out or something. But then Plankton realizes something. Well, Karen tells Plankton that SpongeBob was the one that ruins his plans. So Plankton basically takes Gary and then brings him to the lost city of Atlantic City. Because while that's going on at the Atlantic City, King Poseidon, and which I'm not sure if it's supposed to be which I believe is King Neptune's brother. It's never explained. That's one of the problems with this movie. But but most like the first SpongeBob movie, we see an underwater castle, or an underwater city. It's supposed to be like a casino or something, but it's King Poseidon's King Poseidon's land. So basically, he's basically collecting these snails to help he's getting the snail goo to soothe off his face because he has a wrinkle on one of his eyes. So he hires his chancellor, to write down a petition, write down a royal decree that whoever brings in on Gary, well, whoever brings in a snail or something. But it's just like a blah 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 thing, and that's all I can say about that. But then SpongeBob realizes that Gary's missing, and they have to go find him. Doesn't that sound familiar? Well, two things that sound familiar. We'll get to that in a second. And then SpongeBob and Patrick go on a road trip, and and then they come across some strange things, and we see a character named Sage, played by friggin' Keanu Reeves. Whoa. Well, excellent. Yeah, that Keanu Reeves from Toy Story 4, or as Stu Kaboom, or John Wick, and the guy from the Bill and Ted movies. Um, we already know that SpongeBob and Patrick have to go find him, and then we get some. And then in 1 hour we get to see the cuts, the parts where they're at Camp Coral or something, which is really a drag. Which I will also talk about in a minute. But we already know all about the basic plot. There's reasons why I didn't like this movie. One, it's kind of a bore. Two, the jokes weren't really landing for me that much. Which I will admit that there were some jokes that got a good chuckle, and one of them got a good chuckle, got like a good laugh. And there were a couple parts that did what well, there were a couple parts that were actually pretty fun. But most of the time, it just feels so dull and so boring. It feels kind of boring. This is like if I thought Hotel Transylvania 3 was like the worst of the Hotel Transylvania movies. Well, even though I personally think that the third Hotel Transylvania movie is the best, but this is like if I personally think that the third Hotel Transylvania movie is not a good movie. Wait, but let's talk about the. Alright, I have two other major problems. One of my biggest problems is that it feels like a retread of the first SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and it feels like a retread of the SpongeBob episode, Oh, Have You Seen This Snail? Which that was in the 5th season. I think that was in the 4th or the 5th season. Which I remember that being one of the worst episodes, because when SpongeBob. Because you remember how the SpongeBob SquarePants movie was supposed to be the final episode? Like a series finale, but then Steven Hillenburg left the project, and then Nickelodeon started taking over. Or that's when the season started to become really bland and really unfunny. This is kind of one of those things, but it does have a few of its funny scenes in this, but there are scenes in the movie that I do think is cute, but still. But let's talk about the Camp Coral scenes. The only one that's actually legit decent is the stuff with Patrick, how SpongeBob met Patrick and how SpongeBob met Squidward. Those parts were really cute, but especially the freaking Patrick. If you see Patrick in the movie as a little kid in Camp Coral, you're gonna probably go awe at him the entire freaking time because he looks so freaking cute. I've always been the biggest fan of Patrick because he was always my favorite character. Or, but here he's just kind of, not to say, he's just kind of dull here with a few funny moments, but I feel ashamed because this is one of those movies I really wanted to like. But the one thing that really drags it down is the way that SpongeBob met Sandy, and I did not like it. Why? Remember in the first season, the first episode of the show after what the Help Wanted episode, which was technically a pilot episode. Tea at the Tree Dome, if I remember correctly. That's how SpongeBob met Sandy. He first met her when she was wrestling a giant clam, and then SpongeBob rescues her. That's how they basically first met. All of this is just the last, at the hour. Both the Camp Coral stuff over the characters don't really start till in 1 hour. I mean, I know we get one scene around the first hour of the film where SpongeBob met Gary, which that's totally fine. But still, don't worry, it's just the phone. Yeah, it's my grandmother. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, I really didn't care for the Camp Coral stuff. I do not plan on seeing the Camp Coral show because Steven Hillenburg didn't want a new show after he dies or something. But you could kind of blame Nickelodeon for disobeying him. But I mean, I know that technically it's their property, but it's one of their biggest properties and one of their longest running shows. Well, even like how Ed and Eddie was like the longest running show, oh, in Cartoon Network history. Like, but still, like, oh, you just can't do this and expect us to like enjoy it or something. Like, I do feel it's a shame as well because this is directed by Tim Hill, who does the narration in this movie, but he also helped out with SpongeBob as well. But he's also the director of the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, which I like, Hop, which I also kind of like, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties, which I don't remember liking, and and um and currently he released a new movie called War with Grandpa, which I hear people like that movie, but I don't know if I plan on seeing it though. Um, there are the jokes in the movie, like I said, do get some good laughs, but some of them just feel flat and just make me go. Can we just go on? Can we just go on? Or something. One of them I didn't like is when Patrick is like eating Gary's litter box, and then he eats it again or something. I'm like, dude, that's not funny the first time you did it. And some of the jokes are like that as well. So I will admit that it does have a few good things. One, the voice acting is good. Two, the cameos were pretty neat. Especially from Keanu Reeves. He was like the best part of the movie. He was great. That's the other thing about. The other thing that's actually legit great in the movie is the animation. It's taking like elements from the Peanuts movie, but also having the same 3D style as the second SpongeBob movie, but making like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse or the Peanuts movie style. But it works. So, and some of the jokes did work. And there were some parts that were kind of fun. Like the climax was kind of fun and funny. But so yeah, overall, I didn't really care for this movie. I didn't hate it. I just don't like it. It's about as mediocre of a film as it can get. So if you like so honestly, if you want a better SpongeBob movie, stick with the first one, or maybe just watch the first two movies in general. So that's it for now. And what did you think? Just comment below. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video. And I'm the Bostonian Critic, and I will see you later. Take care.